Hey everyone, welcome to Dance Colleges and Careers, brought to you by Instadance. Professional training to dynamically style your technique, stage presence, and confidence. My name is Brittany Noltzmeyer, and I'll be your guide to helping you find the perfect college for you. Dance Colleges and Careers is here to provide you with information about different colleges, what to expect, and how to find the right college for your dance style. Go to instadancecoach.com with any further questions and follow me on social media at instadancecoach, INSTADANCECOACH. Let's hit it. Hi, Noelle. I'm Brittany, and I'm super excited to have you here on the show.
Thanks.
Noelle is the chair of the dance department at Mercyhurst University up in Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about your role at Mercyhurst?
I've been on the dance faculty for 17 years. I've been the chair for 2 years, and I teach ballet and pointe technique, and I teach kinesiology for dancers. I've taught dance appreciation for non-majors, and I teach Labanotation, Intro to Labanotation every other year, and I teach a course called Liturgical Dance Concepts and Perceptions every other year. So I bounce those two back and forth. I spend most of my time teaching, but then I'm also coordinating a dance department of about 70 dancers, performances and other classes. We have various degrees and just kind of make sure everything runs the way it needs to run.
Amazing. Yeah. So let's start pretty basic, and then I want to talk more about your Labanotation because that's quite unique to your Catholic school. Okay, so just briefly, the majors, we can find them online, but you have a B.F.A or a B.A in dance, correct? Mm-hmm. And then you can also, if you'd like to switch and get a concentration in pedagogy, that's possible too, right?
You can get a concentration in pedagogy if you're on the B.A track.
Okay.
You can't get a pedagogy concentration on the B.F.A track. It's just the credits get too complicated.
The B.F.A major is for dancers who want to pursue a career in performance?
Yeah, basically anything else that they wish to do. My favorite question when the dancers come to audition and the parents, my favorite question from the parents, what is my son or daughter going to do with a degree in dance? It's my favorite. And I basically turn it right around and look at them and say anything they want. Mm-hmm. So you can have a professional performing career, you can have a choreographic career, you can have a teaching career, you can also be a doctor or a lawyer or a real estate agent or a teacher or a mother. I mean, the transferable skills that a B.F.A in dance or a B.A in dance gives you really kind of sets you up to do just about anything you really want to do. The majority of the students that have the B.F.A immediately upon graduation have a performance track. That's where their head is. And so there are various sizes of companies and commercial work and all kinds of stuff all over the map. But it sets you up for anything.
Absolutely. Okay. I loved your answer on that. That was very good. Yeah, because that's what parents are always asking. What can you do with this?
That's what my father asked. So, way, way, way a long time ago when it wasn't such a thing. And it really, I have alumni who are performing even after many, many years. They're still performing. And I have some who performed for a very short time and then went on to other things. I have 3 alumni who are lawyers. I have at least one I think she's a surgeon at this point, and several nurses and some physician assistants, and you name it, they do it.
So would you say that if you decide to go on and further your education and become a surgeon later down the road, would you say that you, with a dance major, you'd be a step behind, or would you be in the same place as everybody else who's received a bachelor's?
Pretty much the same. It depends on where you really want to put your focus while you're in school. I would say probably 2/3 of our dance majors also have double majors. And so they're having a second major in another area. And those are as varied as their careers when they get out. But we do have some who have double majors in biology or in the various sciences and even some that minor in some of those. And so depending on how much you do during your undergraduate career will then dictate how much more schooling or, where you sort of start in that next phase once you get out. So they're all a little bit different, just depending on how much they wanted to do.
Okay. Let's talk about Mercyhurst just a little bit. Can you give us some quick facts just about the school? Because online it looks stunning. It looks beautiful. I saw it was started in the 1920s.
In the 1920s, this is correct. It was started by the Sisters of Mercy. It was an all-girls school started by the nuns, and they had a high school, boarding school type of situation, and then added the college onto that, and it kind of grew out of all of that. And the Sisters of Mercy, all of their underlying goals and dreams and driving forces are still heavily embedded within the university. All of the mission statement and that's what we strive to do. In the early 70s, the school went co-ed. And the school went co-ed in the early 70s. And to my knowledge, still to this day, there are more females on campus than there are males, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. There are approximately just shy of 3,000 students.
Oh, okay.
It's not a large campus. And it's sort of, when you see pictures of when it was originally started, Hurst means hill. And so it was not, we're in Erie, Pennsylvania, so we're way up on the lake. We're on the university's address is 38th Street. So basically that means we're 38 blocks from the water. When the university first started, that was actually sort of out of town. It was not in the city proper. And so it was up on this hill. So today we're certainly surrounded by the rest of the city. It's not out in the boondocks anymore. But if you go up on, the top floors of some of the buildings, you can see the lake, and it's kind of neat. So it's still sort of up on a hill. It's in its own, it's not like a gated community, but it's not, in a center city type situation like many universities are. It's all of our own things. So it's very quaint. So all of the pictures that you can see online, it's very quaint. It's very, the flowers and the plants it's beautiful in the summer. And we always joke that, it's too bad the students aren't here in the summertime to see, it's in all of its glory. They get to come back when it snows, but that's the way.
Right.
It's a school that it's a liberal arts education. So that's and everybody,
Okay.
The core curriculum is very strong in the liberal arts. And so everybody, regardless of your major, has the same requirements. And so they're all taking philosophy and psychology and religious studies and English and history. And everybody's taking at least a touch of all of those things, because you'd need that in today's world. I mean, in any world, you need to have a base knowledge of some of those things. It's a liberal arts university rooted in the tradition of the Sisters of Mercy. I remember them telling us, even when I first started working there, you don't have to be Catholic to go to that school. You don't have to be Catholic to work at that school. You don't have to, not at all, but they will follow the core values of the sisters. It's a nice place to be for that.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask about the students who are coming. Are they mostly Catholic? Obviously, when the school was started, I'm sure probably like 100% Catholic students. Are those numbers still pretty high? Are the students coming to Mercyhurst because they have that shared religious value?
Both, actually. The students, what we hear from them is that they want a smaller institution. They don't want a giant university. They want a smaller university. People know their name. They're not a number. They're actually a human.
Right.
And I don't want to knock any of the big universities. I did my graduate work at a big university too, but and just depending on where you go, there are some fabulous, wonderful places. At our university, people know your name. You go walk into the registrar's office and they know your name. It's not a number. Many of the students, probably when they do polls, the majority of the students are Catholic, or at least they, identify as being raised Catholic. There's no church attendance requirement. Mm-hmm. A very large, beautiful chapel on campus that is active and there's service every Sunday. During the school year, there's service every morning. I've had some students who are faithful and go every week. And I have some students who can make it through 4 years without ever walking through that door. So it just depends,
Right.
depends on the student. But whether or not the religious aspect grabs the students, the fact that the Sisters of Mercy are respect, caring for the poor, caring for the less fortunate, social justice, and these kinds of things that just should make people more decent humans. Those are the characteristics that people come for, as well as we have a strong dance department. So, based on that, or people come to study, intelligence studies or psychology or whatever they're looking for. Mm-hmm. But the overwhelming response that I hear from students is they come because it's smaller. They crave something that's a little bit smaller. Some people do, and they appreciate the words behind and how we're striving to make decent humans.
Absolutely. Yeah. The values of the school. All right. So you talk a lot about like being involved in the community. Do they have any community service projects?
In the dance department, they are required service hours for the first 3 years that they're there. The numbers sort of decrease, as they get older, how many service hours they're required to do in the community and also within the department. And so we encourage them to get out there and get those hours. But and then by the time they're seniors in the dance department, they're not required. It's not part of a requirement anymore. But usually what we find is, on the whole, the seniors end up doing more service hours than anybody else, because by then they're so used to it and they enjoy it and they understand the value of it. And so we don't have to ask them anymore. You don't have to require them anymore. They just do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But the school is based on service. I mean, that's one of the core values. Usually with the incoming freshmen, right off the bat, before classes even start during welcome week, they usually load everybody up. All the freshmen, they have service day on a bus, and they go to various places throughout the city and they do service. They pick a time and day and they take these kids. This year, that's going to look a bit different. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I'm sure they'll find something to replace it, or some sort of online caring of some. I'm not sure how, but usually that's one of the biggest things that I know the student life staff and the older students who volunteer their time with the younger students. That's what they look forward to, is to get out in the community and with the young kids or elderly or you name it, they're out in the community.
Awesome.
And so so we try to steer in the dance department. We try to encourage them to do their service that's required in the dance department. Do your service with at least an arts organization in the community, if not dance specific, just so that they get that experience as well. But that doesn't take anything away from the food kitchen. It's certainly an important thing, but we try and steer them a little bit more into the art. And many other departments have service hours, service components of their courses, and they learn how to do it. And, again, by the time they're seniors, they're doing it, and then they graduate. And then I hear from my students years later, they're still doing it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's cool.
Okay, so this might be more of an admissions question, but maybe too. Nowadays, when we're growing up, we're told to, or encouraged, maybe that's a better word, to do community service. And, as someone who's still young growing up, the reason is so you get into a good college, right? I got to do my community service so I can get into a good college. Do you think that is something that Mercyhurst is really looking for, or really colleges in general? Are they really counting the hours students did?
The most honest answer is I don't know, because I'm not on that end. I know from having a high school daughter right now, for some of the honors program that she was accepted into, she had to do so many service hours. I don't know that, and at this point, she's still young. They just know that they have to do them. They're not being told you have to do them for a certain goal. You just have to do them because it's good for you, so I would think it would depend on, I look at, when I look at a student's application, I'm basically deciding whether or not they're accepted to the dance program. I'm not deciding whether or not they're accepted to the university as a whole. In our university, they have to be accepted both. So they're accepted to the university, and then I get to see their dance portfolio, and application and audition and whatnot. And, sometimes it shows up on a resume.
Right.
It just kind of, to me, lets me know what kind of person they are. That's not going to make or break whether they're accepted into my part of the university. Maybe if you were, I don't know, going into social work, going into, honestly don't know if that's a requirement. Maybe people just say that so that everybody does it. I don't really know the answer to that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll find the answer one day. Do you wish you had that focused, personal touch to pinpoint your exact trouble spots in your dance routine? Learn to unlock your waiting potential and rise above the competition with your own dynamic dance stylist. Why waste hours and days practicing without a step-by-step strategy? In an action-packed plan created specifically for you, you'll see great improvements in just the first week. Fire up the fierce dancer inside with our detailed yet focused program where you can attain results that usually take dancers months. Click the link in the description or email Brittany at instadancecoach@gmail.com to apply. That's instadancecoach@gmail.com. Okay, so let's talk about your Labanotation. I don't know how to ask this question.
You start with what is it? Labanotation is a system, a written system, a system of recording and analyzing human movement. And it is most often used for recording and analyzing dance movement, but it can be used for any movement you wish. Walking, jogging, feeding your dog, making your dinner, whatever. I got interested in it. I know it's kind of there are whole, groups that are involved. I'm a member of a big giant conference that people are involved in it. And believe it or not, that's what I got my master's degree in, which was a little bit, people look at it and go, you do. I remember my grandfather one time, all those years ago, he looked at me and said, does your mother know you're doing this? I said, oh, okay, we won't worry about that. It was started by a man named Rudolf von Laban way back in the early 1900s, around the turn of that century. It's branched into several things. So most people will know the Laban movement analysis, which is more effort shape. People use it for choreography. It's more of a somatic discipline when it comes to that kind of learning, sort of the qualities of the movement. The Labanotation is the actual movement. So it would be as similar to you're hearing music and then someone gives you a piece of sheet music and you're going to try and play it on whatever instrument you have. That's what it's like. It's written movement for dance. So it's a score. There's an organization called the Dance Notation Bureau in New York City. They still exist. It's very small, but they are there. And they house a vast library of written scores, many dances, many of Balanchine's dances, Martha Graham's dances, Paul Taylor's, Lester Horton. I mean, there are a lot of older things that are more classic works that are written down, and more new things, and a lot of dances from other cultures. There are a lot of Chinese dance, a lot of Israeli dance, a lot of, just different kinds of things that were written down. It's preserved so that if you want to reconstruct it, you have to basically hire a reconstructor from the Bureau, and they will send someone to your company or school or university. And that person has read the score. So it's essentially like you give the conductor the score of the music. He passes it out to the musicians, they learn it, and then they perform it. The only difference in dance is that the majority of dancers don't know how to read it. And so the reconstructor has to basically reconstruct it for himself or herself. And then you go into the school or the studio and set it on the dancers just like you would any other choreographic work and coach it. And it has all of the fine-tuned, the things that the choreographer really wanted from the choreographer's mouth, as opposed to video and all that is much cheaper, much faster, much more, I can record stuff on my phone and send it to you. You're putting this podcast instantly up on the internet, all that kind of stuff. And so, it's a lot faster and a lot cheaper. However, if you video record a particular performance and say, whatever the piece is, and now you want 5 years later, you're going to use that video to set it on the next group of dancers somewhere else. What if you had the understudy in that night when that performance was videotaped? What if somebody messed up and went the wrong way or used the wrong arms? Now it's saved for posterity on that videotape, and that's the only record you have. It isn't going to be what the choreographer, if you really want down to the nitty gritty, which arm and which foot and what direction and all that kind of stuff. To me, that's the value of it. You wouldn't use it to reconstruct a piece all by itself. You would want the videotape and any other pieces to use with it so that it's not just steps. You do an emotion to go with it and a feeling and, all of that kind of stuff. But the notation will tell you if they sunk to their knees on one count or it took 4 counts. If you want to leave it up to the dancer, that's great. Then you can do that after that, but at least you know where it started.
That's really cool. But when I choreograph pieces, I always write it down, right? I have my own form of notation that I do, and I have it in my table, and I try to be as clear as possible. But is the difference here that that's my language? That's how I see it. And I hope the next person understands. And in this Labanotation, it's a total different language, almost like reading the music.
Like reading music. That's right. So when you as opposed to reading your language and then the next dancer's language and everybody has their own stuff, this would be like the equivalent of having half notes, quarter notes, whole notes, bar signs, repeat signs, all of that kind of stuff. So that if you learn to read it, everybody's reading the same thing, regardless of whether you're speaking Chinese or Hebrew or Greek or English. It doesn't matter. It's just like learning math. 2 + 2 is the same in Greece as it is in America as it is. Yeah. In that way, it's very international. There are some differences, like really subtle things that are cultural. For instance, there are some movements I know in some German folk dance. When they lift their arms in certain ways, the body naturally goes with it. And that is for those couple particular dances. If you learn them in that culture, you would automatically do them that way. You wouldn't have to be told, when you move your arm, I would like you to move your body also, please. But if you're learning that in America, you would have to be told that. So there are a couple interesting things. And when those kinds of things come up, you have the score and you write it in English or French or Greek or, whatever on the side. Mm-hmm. You write down, when the arms move overhead, the body please will move along with it. You just tell them and then you're okay. But otherwise, it's like reading an international mathematical language.
That's really cool.
There you go.
I just learned so much.
It's fun.
Yeah, let's connect this to Mercyhurst and why we're talking about Labanotation. So do you teach it at your school too?
I do. I'm preparing to teach it this fall. I teach it every other year. I just teach an intro to Labanotation course. To me, and they get through anybody who would go and look up this stuff, we get all the way through the elementary syllabus. They learn how to walk forward and backward and sideways. They learn how to move their arms around. They learn how to jump. They learn, there are 5 categories of jumps, what those are.
Do you mean like jump, leap, hop?
Correct. So, and they have different names, but basically you can jump off one foot and land on the same foot. You can jump off one foot and land on the other one foot.
Okay.
You can jump off 2 feet and land on the same 2 feet. You can go from 1 foot to 2 feet, or you can go from 2 feet to 1 foot. And that's it. There are no other variations. Landing one foot to your head is I don't know what that is. It's something different. And you can write that down. I mean, you can write all of that stuff down. So you just have to, go through the process. I teach it. It's a full semester course. Probably the biggest takeaway that I'm hoping that the students get from it is if they decide to continue their dancing into a dancing career, I think that learning this particular language and how to break down the steps, because you're reading everything individually, it did for me anyway, makes your dancing much more clear in time with the music. Or because then I can hear, colleagues say, well, but what if it's improv and it's not clear? That's cool too. But then that's what you're doing. If you want to be on the meter, then be on the meter. If you don't want to be on the meter, then at least that you are not on the meter. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. So I think it would help them in their dancing to be more clear with their movement, whatever movement they're doing, clear with positions. It will also help their students in the future. For teaching, you can help a student break things apart so that then they can put them back together. And none of the puzzle piecing does not negate what you get from a full movement. That's how it has to be. And eventually, I mean, that's what you're creating. Nobody creates a puzzle and you don't sell it in a box and hope that nobody ever puts it together.
Right.
You don't just have all the pieces out separately on the table. You have to put it together, but you don't put it together without knowing what the pieces are. And so that's it. I mean, that's very oversimplified, I realize, but that's kind of what I hope that they get from it. I'm excited. I have 8 students this coming semester. If anybody else signs up. And the last time I taught it, I had 13, which was really cool. We could do some group dancing. And it's very basic. They're learning very basic things, but in the learning.
Right. It's not the class to kick and turn your jump for your head to your foot or whatever that jump was. No. But it's a different lesson.
Right. And so they learn how to read it. And then they also learn how to write it, that's a different skill. And if you contacted the Dance Notation Bureau, there are people who are really, really skilled in the reconstruction, in the reading. And then there are other people who are very, very skilled in the writing. Everybody can do some of both, but eventually when you really get up into the professional realms, people kind of split. That was a dream of mine way, way back. I was going to become the notator, but that dream flew at one point. That's okay. So now I'm using it for something else. It's all right.
Yeah,
it was one thing along the way. But it's really fun, get with your pencil. All of my classmates when I was younger thought I was the crazy one with my pencils and erasers and graph paper. And it's just a thing. I thought it was fun. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, you added a liturgical class to the curriculum.
Yes, I did.
A couple years ago. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm also the faculty advisor, director of our liturgical dance ensemble. The dancers audition for that just after school starts. We have auditions. This past year, we had 30 dancers in that ensemble. Mostly we dance at churches, community, like senior living homes and things like that all over the city and the county, broader than that. And then I've taken dancers to various workshops and events. So Project Dance is one of them that takes place in New York every spring. I've been there many times, and the woman who directs it asked me one time how many times I had been. And I said, I don't know. I have to count the t-shirts. I don't remember how many. Been a lot. But they have them all over the country, and then they do them all over the world, depending on who will host them. And it's a 3-day event.
Yeah.
They sort of have a worship time on Friday. It's a very sort of ecumenical, it's not any one particular religion. And they have a worship time and, sort of information time. And then it's on a Friday. And then on the Saturday, they put up a stage. So the New York one is the flagship one. They put a stage up in the middle of Times Square, and it's liturgical worship dance from 8 in the morning until 6 at night, all day long, one after the next. Yeah, it's the coolest thing. And so I've not only taken students, but I've actually been blessed to be able to dance on that stage. And let me tell you, dancing on a stage right smack center of Times Square in New York is just the coolest. Yeah. It's just the coolest. Mm-hmm. I just can't even say. And so then they do that, and people come and go. And I mean, it's in the middle of Times Square, so people are wandering. Right. And then on Sunday, that's all day Saturday, all day Sunday, then they put together a whole bunch of master classes for the students that are registered that were there dancing. And so we do master classes all day until about 3:00, and then you go home, and that's it. And so they do it, wherever they can do it. So I've taken students to Atlanta from the university. We've gone down there twice. Mm-hmm. We've been to New York. I've taken Pittsburgh. I guess they went to Pittsburgh instead of Atlanta. Yeah, we did Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Okay. I've taken students to Sydney, Australia. They came one time and said, "We want to go." And I said, "Yeah, me too. Are you crazy?" Yeah. But somehow we managed to get our pennies together. They helped us and we went. So we did that.
All right.
We did the one and only time Project Dance. We went to Jerusalem in Israel, which was amazing too.
Oh yeah, that sounds
It was
incredible.
really very cool. So I've taken the group, and we did 14. I took 14 girls to London a couple years back, and we did a whole concert of liturgical dance. So with all that, that's one of my, besides the Labanotation, I'm the weird one, I know. Dancing in churches and that kind of dancing is a passion of mine. And so I started to develop a course because people just don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it is. It's not a dancing course. You don't have to be a dancer to take it. It's an academic course. It's called Liturgical Dance Concepts and Perceptions. Mm-hmm. And we start with history. Where did it come from? Why did it go away? Why is it still around? Why did it never go away in some places?
Where did it never go away?
Some places it never went away. Places like, different places in Africa, mm-hmm. different Polynesia, things like that, where dance is a big, big, big part of their culture,
right? Mm-hmm.
On a daily basis. Worship is also part of their culture. And so they have all their culture together.
Right.
Europe and America, that's a different ballgame.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's been about 5 years since I started that course.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's really cool. I love that other students can take it too. And as you asked all the questions, I wanted to say, well, where did it start? Okay, and then who? So I guess I'm ready to join your course.
You're ready to get in. That's right.
Yeah, but I've danced in several churches. I did my liturgical company when I was in college, and then I recently, only within the last couple of years, I've been dancing at a church out here for the holidays, Easter, Christmas, and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a little different because college was Methodist, and this one's like they've got the rock band, and the dancing's a little bit more aggressive than in my college liturgical company, but yeah, it's a different skill. It's a different world.
It is.
But it's extremely rewarding, no matter what church or what faith you have.
It's exactly right. And the people, the students that I help to learn about it and put them in churches. I've had some students who come to the university and want to be part of the ensemble because they've done that kind of dancing their whole life and love it. And then I have other people who come in and have absolutely no idea what does that even mean. Mm-hmm. And they get in it and now they're out there doing it. And it's really can transform you. I mean, it's a very different, and that's why I do the auditions. It's not for everyone. I've had some dancers, we've had some dancers in our department who are absolutely stunning performers and dancers, and they will not do liturgical stuff in a church. Dancing on a stage with lights and black and all of that is very different than opening your soul up with the lights on where everybody can see you 4 pews away. I mean, it's just not that the stage is not difficult, but it's very, very different. It's a different atmosphere.
It is. It's like more vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable, and not everybody is for it, and that's cool. That's fine. But the dancers that I've been able to work with, most of them keep coming back. I mean, it's really interesting how once they get in it, if they find it exciting and something, they all of a sudden thrive on it. I mean, it's really a need to do. And I did want to get our ensemble. I was excited that we finally have enough numbers that we can do many duets and trios and 5 and things like that, so that when we get email and calls from churches in town, can you come to this church on this Sunday? Can you come that I can basically put a sign up on our board that says who's available on this particular Sunday, and they all kind of know all the pieces, and so we just go. I think it was on Palm Sunday. I think we danced we were in 5 different churches on one day for Palm Sunday, which was really cool because I had enough people that I was able to.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was it's really neat. And the majority of them are Christian churches, but not completely.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I have a funny story that I want to share, and I want to know if it happens to your dancers too. So we used to do a dance to like a song in the service. And then we would also do a dance to some of the readings. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we would practice it with like our coach reading the reading, how they would read it. Mm-hmm. And you practice your pace and you have your movements that go exactly with the words. And then you get to church and the whoever's reading the reading is totally opposite. So they either go really, really fast and you're moving so fast through the movements, or really slow that it's like reach 6, 7, 8. And
Yep.
I don't know. That's what I remember. And it was always like,
Yep.
you never know what you're going to get.
Oh, yeah.
But it was, the thrill of live theater.
Oh, it's live. It's all live. Probably the one thing that always gets me is that churches are infamous for saying, can you come on Sunday, the whatever? And so you say, yes, we'll be happy to be there. We need music. And so then they'll send it and I get sheet music. That's my favorite.
Yes, that's what I've been given recently too.
I can read music, but not like that. And so I always want to call them and say, do you think that I can just take this music and like rub it on my dancers and all of a sudden we have choreography? Yeah. It doesn't quite work that way, So that's always my favorite. But yeah, it's live stuff. But the good part about it is in church settings, on the whole, they're probably the most forgiving audiences you'll ever dance for.
Yeah.
So unless it's, 10 people that are supposed to be together and you really don't have a clue what you're doing, it's usually going to be okay.
Yikes. But yeah. Well, I think we talked a lot about Mercyhurst and the university and Labanotation for sure, and the liturgical program. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get out of here?
Well, we have a classically ballet-based program.
Oh, yes.
And that's what the audition to get in is, classical ballet with pointe work. The dancers are on pointe every day, the ladies. And that's what it's based on. We do, though, require modern classes, jazz classes. We have tap, we have musical theater. I'm working on a new contemporary course. There are a lot of other forms of dance, but we start with the ballet. And so the biggest thing I think that the students need to know is that if you want to come, you will be dancing a lot. We dance a lot. We have a nice theater. We have a couple big performances every year, but somehow the extra performances just seem to keep coming. And no matter how many times we say, guys, let's sit this one out, nobody wants to sit anything out. And
of course.
So I tell them, you can honestly, by the time you graduate, tell me that you didn't perform enough. Then I will ask what rock you were under for 4 years, because it just, everybody else is exhausted. There's a lot to do. We have a modern company in residence. Our 2 modern faculty run that. And we have my administrative assistant is actually the coach of the dance team. So they're out there for the football games and stuff like that, if that's your thing. So the dancers try a lot of different stuff before they leave. And
your dancers in your dance program, they're allowed to be on the dance team? Like, would you... Okay.
They have to audition.
They have to audition.
It's by audition. The dance team, I would say, a half to 2/3 of the dance team are dance majors, but not all of them.
Okay.
So there are non-dance majors. There are people who dance in this world who just don't happen to be majoring in it.
Right.
And so, there are others out there. And the cool part is the dancers they come in as ballerinas, and I can appreciate that. That's after my own heart. That's what I teach. That's what I love. Mm-hmm. But when they're done, they are able to do that even better, and they're able to do so much more. And then they've built all sorts of other skills to go with it. So when they're out there, they can be successful at whatever they need to be.
That's beautiful.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, really is.
Yeah.
So would you say that everyone coming into Mercyhurst is mostly from Pennsylvania?
Oh, no. We have, no. We do have some. We have our share, down from like around the Pittsburgh area. And we've had a couple over near Lancaster and Philadelphia and that direction. But I have a bunch from Maryland, around the Baltimore area. We've got kids from all over the state of New York. Down New York City and Albany and Syracuse and you name it. I've got kids from Massachusetts. I've got kids from Portland, Seattle. We've had kids from California. We've had kids from Oklahoma and Arizona and Alaska, Hawaii, Florida. I mean, you name it. They're from everywhere.
I saw on the website, it says like 43 or 44 states and a bunch of countries too. So I was like, I wonder what are the only states left?
Yeah, I'd have to go and dig.
I'm from North Dakota, probably North Dakota.
Maybe. We had a student from Montana. I know that. The majority of the university as a whole comes from sort of the, Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio area, but certainly not.
Sure.
I mean, you name it. They come from everywhere.
But since it's a private Catholic school, it probably doesn't really matter if they're from Pennsylvania or from New York or anywhere else, right? Because
there's
it's private.
No in-state, out-of-state tuition stuff.
Let's see. Anything else you got?
You can follow our website. We've always got new pictures up there and new performances. I'm not sure where the National Water Dance, we just participated in the National Water Dance in April. It ended up being a virtual offering, but there it was. So, what are you going to do? But that will get up there eventually. And we have clips from concerts, and it's a pretty cool website. Yeah. If anybody out there is listening is Mercyhurst alum, give a shout, come home and visit.
Yeah. Okay. So here we have Noelle Partusch with us from Mercyhurst University. And I just thank you so much, Noelle, for all that wonderful information. And if anybody out there has any questions, where can we reach you?
You can reach us. It's dance.mercyhurst.edu is our website, and all of our contact. You can get a hold of the faculty on there. Just Google up Mercyhurst. You can find us.
Perfect.
We're there.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Noelle. It was such a pleasure.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thanks so much. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Dance, Colleges, and Careers, brought to you by Instadance. This episode is edited by Braden Grubb and myself, Brittany Noltemeyer. Theme song is created by Matthew Claiborne at Flamingo Sound and Show. And thank you to my sponsors, the Chiropractic Center of Leesburg and Claremont in Florida, and Pure Hemp Labs. Catch you on the inside.